Alright, Algebra 1 students, we finally reached that last video. I know this was a long chapter, and I know that this is a typo over. This is really lesson 12. But we only have one more page of booklet, and that's page 27. So we're going to solve equations using exponents and radicals. So when we solve equations, we use the inverse operations to undo the operations on the variables. Okay, so here's some new inverse operations you probably know. We've talked about it in this chapter, but we haven't really used them much, right? The square root of square is x, and squaring a square root is also x, right? Those undo each other, square and square root. So what we're going to do in this is we have x squared. So we have PEMDAS to the variable x, and we are raising x to the second power. So we undo that square with a square root. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to square root both sides. Well, square rooting the x squared is just x. The square root of 64, we know that one. If we don't know it, we have to simplify, is 8. However, there is an important thing that we haven't talked about as well. This isn't just 8. It's positive 8 and negative 8, right? If we plug it back into our original problem, 8 squared is 64, but also negative 8 squared, right? Because that's a negative 8 times a negative 8 is 64 as well. So there are two answers here. That's something kind of tricky. If we square root to solve, we're going to have a plus and a minus answer. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like again in number 3. But for now in 2, let's keep it simple. If I look at this problem by the order of operations, 2x, I would square root, and then I would add 4. Then to undo adding 4, I'm going to subtract 4. Remember, that's what I'm going to do, undo first. And then I'm going to square my square root. Okay, so that's going to be second. So to solve this, we're going to take 4 away from both sides. So what's left is the square root of x. 4 minus 4 is 0. 10 minus 4 is 6. There is my first step. Now I'm going to square my square root, which means I'll square that side and I'll square that side. Okay, well, this cancels and gives me x, and 6 times 6 is 36. All right, so now let's try and read this one. Our variable this time is n. First thing we're going to do to n, well, if we look inside our parentheses, we're going to multiply by 2. This is times 2. Then, after we times 2, we will subtract 1. After that, we square it. So to go backwards, we start at the bottom and we undo. Well, we undo the squaring with a square root. Then, to undo subtracting 1, we add 1. And finally, to undo times 2, we divide by 2. So working our way back up, we're going to square root both sides. Remember, when we square root, we're going to take the plus and minus. So this is 2n minus 1 equals 9, right? Square root of 81 is 9. But also, 2n minus 1 equals negative 9, right? Because negative 9 times negative 9 also equals 81. We need both. Okay, I'm not going to be too hard on you on this chapter, but it is very important, so we're going to make sure that we talk about it. Then we're going to add 1 plus 1 to both sides. We get 2n equals 10. Now on this side, I'm going to solve it the same way. 2n equals negative 8. Now remember, I'm going to divide by 2. So I'm going to divide this by 2. And I get 1n, aka n, right? 2's cancel, give me 1. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. There's one answer. And I'm going to divide 2 on both sides of this one because it's the same thing. I get 1n equals -4, right? -8 times 2, -4. So I got 2 answers for that one. You got to be careful. A lot of times you're going to get 2 answers. All right, 2 more. I can see them square rooting both of these. So I'm going to square both sides. That's going to undo it. Well, if I square my square root, I get 2g plus 1. Now over here, I undo my square root with the square. I get 4g minus 1. Now this is an old friend, or for some of you, an old enemy. We have variables on both sides, right? The g's and the g's on both sides. So I need to remove the variables from one of the sides. So I'm going to remove 2g from the left side, which means I need to remove 2g from the right side as well. Well, 2g minus 2g cancels. I'm just left with 1. On the right side, I got 4g minus 2g is 2g, and I also have another minus 1. Now to solve this, we should be good at solving this by now, right? We add 1 to both sides. 1 plus 1 is 2. -1 plus 1 cancels, so I'm left with 2g. And to undo this, I divide both sides by 2. Well, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so g equals 1. One solution. Now I'm going to look at this one. I have squareds on both sides, so to undo that I'm going to square root both sides of the equation. What's left is 9 minus x equals 2x minus 12. There are those variables on both sides again, so I need to remove them from one side. So I'm going to remove my minus x by adding an x to my left-hand side. -x plus x will give me 0. But if I add an x to my left side, I have to add an x to my right side. So I get 9 equals 2 plus 1, 3x minus 12. And I finish solving by adding 12 on both sides. So 9 plus 12 is 21 equals 3x. -12 plus 12 is 0. And one more step, we divide both sides by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so we're just left with x, 1x. There's our answer. If you have any questions, come see me. That's the last one, and then we'll review and take our test. Good luck!